All right, I think we are live. Super cool. Let me see if this is going to work. Over here, go live with streaming software, go live. Boom, we are in it. We are doing it. What is going on, everybody? Welcome to the first episode of the Flex RX. This is going to be our first episode number 1, and I'm looking to do these probably on a weekly basis, and that is going to be probably Tuesdays, 2 p.m. EST. And a little bit late because I realized that to use this camera as the streaming software, I had to shut out Zoom, but we are here. So I want to dive right in. Game plan for Flex RX. So what these are going to look like is in Flex RX, we're going to be talking about fitness, learning, and enduring on our way to achieving excellence. So that is going to be what the FLEX stands for. Super excited. And this first one, what we're going to be diving into is going to be, I want to talk about ready, fire, aim. So ready, fire, aim. Everybody knows ready, aim, fire, but I want to talk about ready, fire, aim, which is also the name of a great book by Michael Masterson. But we're just going to talk about the title for this first stream. So what we're going to be going into is going to be, so what is ready, fire, aim? Like, what does that mean? So in terms of like ready, fire, aim, that is going to be, what we're doing with this whole kind of weekly show that I want to do. So going to talk about this, and then we're going to get into some live Q&A. So submit some comments. Let me know where you're from on the live stream, and let me know what you guys want me to cover in terms of that Q&A. Should be going for about 45 minutes or so, but let's dive into today's topic. So we're going to be starting up with today's topic is going to be, let's get that Jamboard shared. Again, we got we're going to be typing. There we go. So ready, fire, aim. And the thing about that I love about this quote is because, the book, I read a lot of it, but I didn't finish the book. But sometimes there's books where the title for me is just enough. So what this means is take action. So get ready, take action, and then redirect as you go through the process. And so this I feel is super important, especially when we're talking about in terms of fitness. So in terms of fitness, like there's never going to be a perfect time. You're never going to have everything 100% perfectly figured out to get started in, your fitness goals. Maybe you want to lose 20 pounds for the last 5 years. Maybe you've wanted to get into pickleball the last year or so. But, waiting for when the weather's right, waiting for the next month, waiting for that pickleball gym to open up, waiting for, a certain situation. But oftentimes that putting off until the perfect time, putting off becomes a habit. So that's why it's important to just take action and figure it out along the way. And so in terms of the concept of ready, fire, aim, this is a perfect example of it. So this show is something I've wanted to do for a good amount of time. And inspirations for this would be Brandon Carter with Victory Talk. Really love learning that. And I'll often have it when I'm working, I'll have it in the background. Alex Hormozy came out with One of Zero, where he does like live Q&As, but also sometimes we'll tackle some certain topics he wants to talk about. And so in this too, I don't have it fully figured out. We just had technical difficulties for 10 minutes because I couldn't get the camera to work. And so I'm learning as I go, learning out the software here. But taking action, and we're going to learn throughout the process rather than trying to learn through all these hypotheticals. I think this will work. I think that isn't the best route. But it's kind of like the man in the arena. It's like you got to be in the arena to really know what's working and what's not. And I can make this as, another thing would be UFC. The very first Ultimate Fighting Championship, I believe that's what the acronym stands for, but UFC 1, everybody said conceptually, this martial art is the best. But you don't know until people actually ended up getting into the ring and starting to, have karate versus jiu-jitsu versus kickboxing versus boxing. And that's when we realized, hey, this probably some people are going to like this, but Brazilian jiu-jitsu came out on top, won UFC 1. So with that being said, we wouldn't know these things if no one took action and actually put rubber to pavement, got the things in motion. So what this kind of, I find so, inspiring about this, but is you learn by doing. So a big piece is you learn by doing. And this could be in weight loss too. A lot of people, if you want to lose 20 pounds, oh, this BMR says I burn X amount of calories. But this BMR calculator says I burned that many calories. I don't know my exact amount of activity level. And so there's just all this information. But if you just track your nutrition, you track the trend of your weigh-ins, then you can make some educated decisions in adjusting your calories or your activity level to see continued progress. If you keep just like, if your head is always in the notebook and it's not actually in the gym or it's not actually doing the thing, then you're not going to get where you want to go. So this concept of ready, fire, aim is the reason why I want to start off with this topic. Is if there's something you want to accomplish, but you're not exactly sure how to do the thing, just start doing the thing and figure it out from there. This show is something that I've wanted to do, and we're getting things starting and figuring it out along the way. So start with the topic, go into some Q&A, and try to provide more value and helping people out just on like a live platform. Somebody may have a question that I can answer that's going to help maybe 10 other people that didn't get to answer that question. I would love to, of course, work with everybody in my coaching program in HFP, but it's not realistic if we can have, let's say, 100 people live at once on this, or maybe one day 1,000 people, maybe another day a stadium full of people, if only. But I have stage fright, so that may not be the best play. But in terms of ready, fire, aim, if there's something in terms of fitness where you're waiting for that perfect time, you're waiting until you're not busy, you're waiting until work hours, you start leaving on time, and it's not a busy season anymore. This is actually the best time. Do it while situation is not ideal. I want to highlight not, but you want to do these things while the situation is not ideal, because it never stays ideal. Maybe, you do get that time. You do find an extra hour in your time. And that does happen. But often, and we can start committing to, training, eating better, et cetera, meal prep. But then you're going to get busy again. The next kind of life curveball is going to hit. And I often find it best to figure it out while everything is going on. In terms of the show, this is probably one of the busiest weeks that I've had in the past, I'd say, year or two. This last week, we're hiring. Of course, launching this. We got a hot seat this other night. And we got a CISSN exams. And so there's a lot of things going on, but I feel that this is the time to figure this thing out and try to provide more value. Same thing with fitness. Times may not be ideal, but just get in the gym, get the process going. You're going to learn a lot more by your first 10 minutes in the gym than, let's say, an hour thinking about the gym or writing down programs. So I would definitely say go in with a game plan, of course, but also learn by doing. Like, what's the perfect diet? It doesn't matter. Start logging your intake, start logging your progress, and see where you get to go. So ultimately, if the time is not ideal, that's the perfect reason to start. Get habits in place that are going to serve you when the time isn't ideal. Get things in place that you want to accomplish when it's not the perfect time or when you're busy. Because then when you're busy in the future, because I'm sure you're going to be busy in the future, then you're going to have that already figured out. You're already going to have that steam. You're already going to have that momentum. So that's kind of why I want to talk about this first topic, being ready, fire, aim. So I hope this is helpful. And then I'm going to probably clip this and we're going to add that to my YouTube channel. And now I want to open it up to any questions in terms that we have for the Q&A. So let's open up for some Q&A questions. So I am live here. I'm going to stop sharing on this. But we are live now on YouTube. We are on, what's going on? Let's go. Greg is in the house. He is on YouTube today. Shout out to you, Greg. Appreciate you. Hi, what's going on, Joeler? And thank you, Nathaniel. You're so sexy and hot. I appreciate that. It's good lighting in here. All right, let's see if we got any questions going on Instagram. And we're going to dive into some Q&A. All right, so we got Happy Tuesday. Let's go. What have we got? Ready, fire, aim. Let's go. All right, I'm scrolling a lot. Thank you for this information. Appreciate you. No problem. Hopefully that is helpful. That was something that was really helpful for me. This concept, kind of like with a lot of things, trying to always wait to have like the perfect game plan, the perfect situation. And then it was just always something that, it just keeps getting put on the back burner and not actually taking action. So we got Sweet Gay Jr. Have you always been fit? So me personally, I have not always been fit. Actually, when I was growing up, I was so I was always picked last at recess, and I was the Husky kid. I remember on my basketball team, we won the championship, but your boy played like 10 minutes. But on my basketball team, my coach would refer to me as, Husky, the Husky kid. And I was heavy. I was too heavy to play fifth grade football. I was 135 in fifth grade. I think the cutoff for that team was like 120 or something. And I was going to have to go a couple towns over to play football because they had the unlimited weight category. And so for me, weight was always a thing that I struggled with growing up. And yeah, I was often, bullied at recess, all those fun things. But what really helped me in like first figuring it out was kind of this concept of ready, fire, aim. So the first program, I'll give you this first story of me getting into fitness. And that was me and my buddy. We said, this is the summer before freshman year of high school. Me and my buddy were like, dude, if we can go into freshman year with like 6-packs and we can be totally shredded, all the girls are going to be looking at us. They're going to think that we're the hottest thing in the school. And so we're like, okay, the way to get there is probably running a mile every day of the summer at 6 a.m. So we would wake up early. We met at the high school track. We did this on day one. We ended up walking our mile. And then what ended up happening after we walked our mile is the Pizza Hut buffet opened up down the street. So we just hung out in the bleachers until that opened up, and then calorie surplus that day. Same exact thing happened on day 2. And then we just decided, all right, maybe this isn't our year. Maybe it's going to be sophomore year. Maybe that's where we'll actually get, shredded and fit. And, all the girls are going to be like, wow, you guys are shredded and fit. That I don't think that outcome ever actually happened or ever occurred. But my second attempt at fitness was actually P90X. And so this was about, I think, later in my freshman year of high school, but started going into the basement, was following some of the protocols for P90X, like eat less junk, eat more vegetables, have this protein shake that's like $60, and it's like 20 grams of protein, 40 grams of carbs. But overall, just showing up consistently, being on some kind of routine, I saw some results. I was getting stronger. I was beating a logbook. I was just in the basement, and I was pretty much, it was like alternating strength training and cardio days. So I also got more flexible, which is pretty cool. Your boy can touch his toes. And so that was actually a routine that really worked for me early on. But eventually I kind of hit a plateau, and I was like, okay, how do I get leaner from here? This stop eating junk, and then I got into keto. It was only getting me so lean and getting me so far. And once I did P90X, I kind of graduated from that, started going to the gym, learning more about actual strength training, because P90X was cool. It's a great place to start, but it relied so heavily on muscle confusion. So we're always just kept changing up exercises and changing up exercises. When you do that too much, you don't actually gain steam with really quality exercises. You're always changing the game. It's like if you're dating around a ton and you never actually like take the time with one person to build a strong relationship, it's like you keep getting all these like half relationships. You barely even know each other's name. And so on the case of when it came to training, now it's commit to something of like quality movements that you can get 4 range of motion, get stronger at those. Like barbell squats are awesome. Why are you going to trade that out every 4 weeks? It just doesn't make too much sense. So get that commitment with those exercises, and then maybe on that 12 to 24 week kind of standpoint, or 10 to 20 weeks, that's when you rotate those exercises out. When they start getting stale, you stop seeing strength gains. So kind of coming all the way back to the beginning of this question, have you always been fit? No. Growing up, fitness did not come easy for me. And those were kind of like 2 of the stages of my fitness career. That was kind of the first one. Getting into it, kind of as we talked, the concept for episode 1 is ready, fire, aim. That was kind of me just, firing, trying to run a mile every morning, failing. And then I picked up P90X, did that, saw some results. Was it the thing that was going to get me to the next level? And so then I redirected. I aimed again, got into the gym, did keto, got somewhere, but didn't get to my end goal. Again, re-aimed. But you learn a lot by doing. You learn a lot by getting in the arena. You learn a lot by doing the thing rather than just thinking about the thing. What other questions do we have? We're doing Q&A on Instagram. What questions do we have? What's your opinion about CrossFit? Also, we got some of the best drink there is Pennsylvania Dutch Diet Birch Beer, my favorite drink. And so I'm going to probably always have a case, even though like soda's like $7 a case nowadays, but I'm going to make sure that I have a case because it's probably going to be the play for these. But what is your opinion about CrossFit? CrossFit, I think the idea of CrossFit is awesome, but I feel it's kind of difficult in like actually, doing it. And so the things that are tough about CrossFit is you're often doing some quality exercises like Olympic lifts. So your snatches, your cleans, you're often squatting with a barbell, you're doing deadlifts, and those things are all great. But when you're starting to build strength and you're doing it under time limited circumstances where you're just trying to do as many reps in as little time as possible, that's where we can see form breakdown. That isn't because of necessarily muscle fatigue, but we're kind of rushing those processes. We don't want to rush too many deadlifts, or maybe you don't want to rush too many Olympic lifts, but I get it. We're looking for the fittest people on earth. And I think it's a really cool competitive thing, but I feel that for a lot of people, especially newer to the gym, it's good to have some time really developing core fundamentals of weight training before going into these time limited force speed kind of situations. I feel like having that baseline of, what did I say? Technique standards, establish those, and then you can add speed. But when you're trying to learn technique under time limited circumstances, that's where it's going to be hard to really get like your foundation. So I feel like just doing regular strength training is a good foundation. But then if you want to build as much muscle as possible, it's not how fast you deadlift or how fast you bench press. It's how much weight can your muscles move in that bench press. So strength is actually going to be pretty much very heavily related to the cross section of our muscles. But CrossFit, when it sounds like the main objective is for speed, that's less going to be, the number one thing for growing bigger muscles and improving body composition. For being overall fit, and if you can stay injury-free, I think CrossFit is amazing because you're actually going to get more of that cardio stimulus as well, which is great to work on your heart health, your VO2 max. Those things are great. And VO2 max is a very strong relationship with longevity. So that's kind of something I got into more recently. So overall, that's my opinion with CrossFit. And I think it's a great way to make strength training fun. The caveats are when we try to learn strength training under time-limited or force-speed conditions, there can be a lot of form breakdown, and that's where we can get into some injury risk, or it can be less than ideal. So I would say I would recommend over that is to get a foundation of strength training, just get used to the movements, the fundamentals, then go into CrossFit. But if you find a really, really good CrossFit gym where the coaches are great, they give you the time, they help you drill that technique, you're not pressured to like go too heavy in the speed with the barbell stuff, that's probably going to be a good recipe for efficient workouts and a good thing to get involved in. I'd honestly love to do some like CrossFit sessions and try it out. Is there such a thing as eating too little for the amount of calories or energy you expend on a daily basis that would result in a plateau? They've actually studied this, and people aren't going to like my answer, but there's something called, I think it's VLED. Oh yeah, I have a blackboard here. So we are going to screen share. So let's go into it. All right. So can you eat too little to lose weight? Can you eat too little to lose weight? So what kind of evidence we have is they've done things called VLEDs, very low energy diets. And these are consisting of 400 to 800 calories intake per day. That's very low. That is very low. And so what they saw is when people underwent these diets, they tend to, especially in a metabolic ward study, that means that all food that they consume was given by the conductors of the studies. And so everything is tracked. You don't have those variances of like, oh, are people tracking their nutrition correctly? In a metabolic ward study, all the food is provided. So what they ended up seeing is the participants lost the expected weight. Interesting. And so this goes to say that a lot of times the severity of the calorie deficit will lead to weight loss. But there are major caveats with just trying to eat as little as possible. Your energy for performance isn't going to be super high. Your ability to strength train, probably going to be low if you're in extreme deficit. So this is going to make it harder to build muscle. And then in other cases, so the severity of the calorie deficit will lead to weight loss, but your ability to strength train in these very low, kind of settings it's hard to build strength. It's hard to retain that muscle. So you're probably going to lose a little bit of muscle along the way. But in those cases, starvation mode, which a lot of people say is going to happen if you eat too little, doesn't necessarily exist. What we do see is decreased NEAT. So in like bodybuilding preps and stuff, they will have to diet over time progressively harder from some minor metabolic adaptations. So they do exist. Metabolic adaptations do exist, but often overstated. Tends to be like 10%. Tends to be like 10% or so. So it's like if you burn 2,000 calories, like if you are expected to burn 2,000 calories and then you diet for 30 weeks, your expected calories you burn may drop down to like 18% or 1,800. So like, yeah, that makes some changes, but it's not like necessarily, I guess, a starvation mode. What we see, the biggest fluctuator in energy expenditure is NEAT. So we have seen in overfeeding studies, some overcompensate in expenditure for the increase in food. And so we see people when they're overfeeding over their needs by like 1,000 calories, some people do not gain weight. Other people, they do gain weight as expected. The biggest thing we see is NEAT, which is non-exercise active thermogenesis. So this is the calories we burn, not exercising, but still moving. So this can be like foot tapping. This can be, you could count, I'd say even steps would count into this, and just kind of like little movements. But this can amount to a lot over the course of a dieting phase. So when we keep a track of our baseline activity level, our steps and stuff, we tend to see that we will lose, the calories we expect. Or we'll tend to lose that weight we expect. And then it also, I say a big piece here too is, I'm going to delete this, but so something here, high variation of energy demands. BMR calculators are an average, so outliers do exist. So you could be, an outlier that burns less calories than at your body size. You could be on the flip side. You could be someone that is very energy expensive. Like there are some of those, genetic variables. So that's one piece as well. So high variation of energy demands is something that plays into this. So that's why it's good to also just know what your rate of loss is and your intake is, because that's going to be the most usable data. So also remember this: if you are 5'1" and you're 100 pounds, let's say 110 pounds, and you want to lose a little bit of body fat, you're still going to need a calorie deficit, but you're going to have different demands than 6'2". This is a 220-pound person. This is me and my wife, Nicole. She's a small person. She's not energy expensive to move around. She's not a Hummer. So when she has to get into a diet, it does get ugly. I know people say the 1,200 calorie rule, but not everybody is 5'6" and 140 pounds. We do have smaller people, less energy expensive, and on the flip side, some other people are going to be more energy expensive. So the best indicator of true deficit is your rate of loss, your average weight of loss weekly. So we have all this smoke of like, how many calories do I burn? Like, am I genetically an outlier, et cetera, et cetera? Does this BMR calculator work for me? But the best indicator we have is, ready, fire, aim. Start logging your intake, look at the average, start logging your daily weigh-ins and see what is your rate of loss. Are you moving in the direction that you think that you should be? And I feel that that's the most actionable data we have. And I feel like that could be useful to actually getting successfully to your goals. So that is my opinion as far as, does starvation mode exist? There are metabolic adaptations, but as far as like a starvation mode where like you start gaining weight, even though, oh, no, I didn't mean to do that. I just hit the wrong button. All right, good. I was able to reverse it. That's kind of like what I've seen over time. All right, what else we got? Other thing, I follow you. Oh, good question. All right, Gustavo. Other thing, I followed you since 2021. Shout out to you. And I've been witness of your progress and physically, and you have an amazing body. Thanks, Gustavo. Right now, I'm trying to get ripped, but I feel stuck. I cut calories and nothing happens, at least not as quickly as I used to. What do you recommend? Good question, and let's open up the whiteboard because I like this question. So let's go into the Jamboard. So pretty much, I cut calories, nothing happens, at least not as quickly as it used to. So I would say, Gustavo, the first thing I would say to do, look at your step count. You mentioned as I used to. I've been in that position too. So me, back in college, and so college Kev, when I was a young whippersnapper, almost like, geez, wow, 8 years ago was when I was actually on campus because I graduated in 2018 and the last year was rotations. So college Kev was getting in like 15 to 20K steps per day. So steps per day. Nowadays, so now Kev is pouring like I'm gonna give myself a generous 5K steps per day. So what is the difference between these two in expenditure? Difference here, because around 2,000 steps is about a mile, which is about 100 calories burned. So let's say on the low end, this is gonna be 500 calories less burned per day. That's a lot. And that's per day. So I would have to have the same rate of loss or the same thermodynamic balance, I have to consume 500 calories less. All things otherwise considered equal, that's just what the facts are because I'm so much more sedentary than I was back in the day. If I was hitting 20,000 steps, then it would be closer to like 700 calories less on a daily basis. So when people say to me, I'm losing less weight than I used to, I typically want to ask them, what's your step count? Because honestly, we don't tend to get more active as we age. And that's not necessarily just because of aging, but it's because of lifestyle. And that's because work, office, etc. We're not walking around to class. We typically, we have to plan out our exercise. What I like, a quote, I forgot who said it, but they were like, we have it so it's 2024. So we have it in a ways as entire earth. We have it so good that we need artificial forms of exercise. We need a gym to have strength training because we're not picking up elephants, or no, we're not out hunting and having to lift heavy things as much and do as much manual labor on average overall. It used to be there's more running, sprinting, and things that had to be done on a daily basis. So we need to kind of plan these things and kind of get this artificial exercise in by going for runs, going for walks, etc. Because it doesn't necessarily come in this generation as routinely as maybe earlier on, and even if we're talking thousands and thousands, tens of thousands of years ago. But kind of that's my point. So first, look at your step count. Second, and I'm going to say this a lot, but log your daily intake. You say you may have cut calories, but are you sure? And this is going to be track everything. And here are the sneaky calories. So sneaky calories, liquid calories. So like soda, juice, etc. This could be, condiments. Always use your condiments. So there's G-Hughes, sugar-free barbecue. That's gonna be 5 calories, but barbecue sauce can be 50 to 100 calories per serving. And you look at a serving, it's small. So liquid calories, condiments, and oils, butters, whatever you try to lubricate your pan with. But whatever you kind of use for non-stick on your pan. So a little pan spray, it spreads a lot of butter over a larger space. But I mean, if you just have a hunk of butter just melting there, that could be absorbed by the food. That's a lot of calories. And 3, log your weight trends. So log your daily weigh-ins, post-urination before eating or drinking anything in the mornings. And then, see how that moves. 4th, adjust calorie target based on rates of loss. And that's why I recommend to start getting things in the swing of things. But as I'm hearing kind of your question, Gustavo, I'm thinking it could be part in tune to the first one, which is causing unrealistic expectations because we're in a different phase of life, different season of life than my 2021 versus 2024, your 2021 versus your 2024. So it may just have, more sedentariness on average than maybe back during that time frame. So I hope that's helpful for you. Now let's open up. But great question. Really great question. Cool. What else we got? All right, questions. Man, Instagram's quiet today. Instagram, what questions do we have? All right. All right, cool. So also other things in terms of like that fat loss. Whoa, wait, can I do that? What? Okay, cool. So, ready, fire, aim. We are learning. So I can actually show the questions as like I answer them. That is so cool. I don't know if that's going to work during like screen share. That is sweet. But super excited about that. I can't do that with Instagram, but we're learning here. But also on that same thing, I'd recommend in terms of like if we're just trying to, lose body fat, let's see if this works while we screen share. Let's go here, share screen. No, I don't know if that's working anymore, but let's also talk about like fat loss. So also on the fat loss side of things, you could even say maybe if you feel stuck on the fat loss, you can look at protein intake. Is that where it needs to be? So I would recommend shooting for, let's say, 1 gram per pound of goal weight. Oh, it is showing. Wow, this is awesome. Thanks, Ed Talks X. Shout out to you. But yeah, it's technology. Again, other reasons why I am happy to be in the 2024 timeframe. This is sick. So protein, is that where it needs to be? So 1 gram per pound of goal weight, great place to shoot for. The reason I say 1 gram per pound of goal weight is because if I say something to like 0.8 grams per pound, let's say you're 300 pounds and like 50% body fat, it's unrealistic to hit 240 grams of protein on a daily basis. Probably a little unrealistic. So that's why I like the 1 gram per pound of goal weight. Like think of when you're going to be reasonably like pretty darn lean. So I feel that's a little bit more helpful than that blanket. So other pieces for fat loss, it's going to be the rate of loss. Calories are going to be the big things, and then strength training. And then also, Gustavo, make sure, because what I find is, just in life, you always want dragons to slay, I like to say, so dragons to slay. And one of those, like dragons to slay, the game to play is going to be, getting stronger in the gym. It's not all just about weight loss. Like, what are those games we can make us enjoy that keeps us showing up to get to a better physique? That's going to be strength training. And like what I want that in terms of like gamifying it would be, so gamify exercise. That's what I love about strength training. So track your workouts, your weights, your reps, then beat it next time. So if you do that, now maybe you're not changing on the scale, but visually you could be changing. In HFP, we've had people lose literally 0 pounds, but still 4 inches off the waist and see a lot new vascularity they've never seen before. We've seen somebody come into the program, want to lose 15 pounds of body fat, only lost 5 pounds, but did a DEXA, lost 10 pounds of pure fat, gained 5 pounds of pure muscle in just 12 weeks. And also, this client, she was also only 130 pounds. So gaining 5 pounds of muscle on a 130-pound frame, absolutely phenomenal. So the scale is a good correlator for progress, but it's not the entire story. So hopefully that helps you as well, because just knowing things outside of just the number on the scale. I think I saw we got a good question. What is your opinion on working out if you are sore? Should you work out even if you are sore, or should you wait until you fully recover? Great question. And we get this a lot. I've gotten this a good amount of times. So when we are sore, there's a couple of things I think through. Sore, should you train? So a couple things is, okay, so number one, so the first piece is going to be, don't train if it's like debilitating, like you can barely walking. I don't know, like you're limping around, leg day really got you, but maybe I'd consider not training if that were the case. If it was like leg day, but maybe I played Ultimate Frisbee the previous day, hadn't run in a while, super sore, maybe I would probably rotate a different workout in. So probably if it's debilitating, barely walking, probably would just take a rest day. But if you're sore and it's mild, oftentimes in my experience, and I've been training for about 15 years, is oftentimes that warm-up set will get you good. It will get you feeling good. Sometimes it's like we're a little bit sore, but we just got to get the blood flowing. We just got to get a little bit of movement in, and then it's like, oh, I feel great. This has been back in sports where it's like we may have had a basketball game, and then we're in the next day. But once you get a warm-up jog or something going, then you're like, oh, okay, I thought I was sore, but I'm feeling good. I'm ready to go. So sometimes it can be a mindset thing, and this is just a big piece when it comes to training in general. It's like sometimes you're going to go to the gym, or you're gonna wake up in bed and you're like, man, I don't want to go to the gym. It's so cozy in these covers. It's so warm. Just don't want to get out of here. I don't know if I want to train today. Same thing. You get up in the bed and you're like, oh man, I'm a little sore. Maybe I don't have to go to the gym so much. From my experience, when you overcome that, you go to the gym, 9 times out of 10, you're going to have a phenomenal workout. And then after that, it's like, wow, I'm so happy I actually went into this training rather than stayed in bed, or rather than did nothing. And so that's from my experience, I would say that. And so if it's sort of mild, oftentimes that warm-up set will get you good and good to go. Sometimes it won't. Sometimes it won't. And then you can always leave. So the way that I do my rest days is typically like that. Is I try to make it a routine to get to the gym around 5 a.m. And then if I do a couple warm-up sets or something along those lines and it's just not it, then I'll just go home. And that'll be my rest day. So I like to auto-regulate my rest days for those reasons. So auto-regulate your rest days for this reason. Because some days you're going to be sore and you have a planned training session. Some days you're going to be less sore, maybe you have a planned rest day. This is where I like to auto-regulate, and I want to train when I feel good, and then I'll rest when I don't feel good. And it's one of those times. So overall, the overall recommendation, I'd say more times than not, the warm-up will get you through it. But if it's bad, you may want an extra rest day. But this is why I recommend to auto-regulate. And then also, you can always call it audible, popularized by Peyton Manning, Omaha. But you can always call it an audible on your workout. If it's a leg day, scheduled, your legs are super sore, arms are fine, swap the arm day. Get some more gains. Arms they tend to recover a little bit quicker. So I personally would just sneak in another arm day because I'm trying to get some juicy biceps. And I think I have a reel right now that's going semi-viral or viral for my standards. And, oh, wow, we've been going. We can do another like 10 minutes. Got my timer set. And that has been, I'm getting called out because people are saying I'm faking my bicep measurements. Or someone's like, hey, you don't have big biceps. Those things are only 16 inches. One, I think Matt Ogus, who's super jacked, I think his biceps are only 16 inches, but like at his stature, like those are some pretty darn big biceps. But we got the measuring tape right here. So let's fight with the internet right now. Just because my integrity was called out. And so, you always got to keep these things on. So we are about here. That does not look straight or correct right there. We're going to go right there. We're doing this on camera. I think we can count that. All right, I'll give the reading for you guys. It's a little bit over 17. And I think that's pretty much straight. Yeah, so it's like 17 and, almost 3/4. My integrity was put into question, so just want to get that out there. And I can probably now clickbait people and be like, how big are my biceps? But moving on to the next question. We got, I used to be able to bench 20 pounds, and that was 5 years ago. I'm recently decided to get back to working out. I understand it takes time to get back to lifting the same weight again. Beautiful thing is that muscle memory is very legit. So muscle memory is like not like just like some myth. It's actually very legit. And we've seen this. Shout out to one of our HFP graduates, Robbie. So he had some training history. He had trained before. He was doing well. And then he took off like a year of training. And then he joined the program. He was like, hey, I've been training a good amount of time. I've gotten pretty darn skinny, but I'd like to get back into it. What was awesome that we were able to take advantage of is muscle memory. if you stop training for, let's say, months and months and years, your muscles don't really forget that they were that size. And so recapturing size is a lot easier than it is to build new muscle mass. So a really cool thing is like, yeah, stop training for a year. If you want to get the sickest transformation ever, just stop training for a year. Stop training for a year. Maybe add an extra 20 pounds, primarily body fat. Then a year from now, start training again. And after like 12 weeks, you're going to recapture all that muscle. We'll take your before photos. You're going to recapture that muscle. You diet off that body fat, lose 20, 25 pounds of body fat. Your body's going to recomp tremendously. You're going to recapture muscle you already had. So you can say, oh, I gained 20 pounds of muscle in like 12 weeks. No, it's probably like 10 pounds of muscle. But that's the way to have a cheat code transformation right there. Because it does, again, muscle memory is very legit. To actually lose muscle probably takes like 8 weeks of not training to lose some amount of actual muscle. And muscle you build naturally is hard to lose, which is a beautiful thing. That's why I like the game of natural bodybuilding, because this is a game I get to play into my 50s. A lot of people hit their prime in natural bodybuilding in like their late 40s, early 50s. So it's cool that it's a game to play for that long. And so to actually lose muscle, you got to really do like nothing for 8 weeks. And even so, like if you're training 1 to 2 times a week, that's probably enough to retain that amount of muscle that you do have. So overall, I'd say if you get back into the gym and if you were bench pressing, let's say, the 20s or 20 pounds on either side, whatever that may be, I think I'm pretty confident you'll be back there within 12 weeks. But, make sure your protein's right. Make sure you're tracking your workouts, and also ideally track your nutrition as well. And that's going to go a long way into hitting that goal. But totally hit your protein and you can recapture a lot of that muscle mass, and that's going to be huge. Cool. All right. So I think we covered a good amount of questions for this one. This is the first episode of FlexRx. So this is going to be where we talk about fitness, learning, and enduring on our way to excellence. So thank you guys for hanging out with me on this one. Maybe pop in clips through this, throw it through one of those clip things. But thank you guys for watching, and I will see you guys on the next one. It's going to be next week, Tuesday, 2 p.m. EST. We'll see you guys then. See ya. Bye.